Boker Tov. Today's Daf Yomi is Bava Metzia Daf Pei Daled, Bava Metzia 84. It's dedicated for Yeshua, for Am Yisrael, Shmira for the Chayalim, Atzah for the Shvuyim. And it said in yesterday's Daf that Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon was forced to become a policeman for the authorities and arresting the people, but he was convinced that he was arresting only bad people, even though he sometimes had doubts about it. And these doubts afflicted him. And it's also relevant because Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon is the son of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, and many people go to the grave of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai on Lag BaOmer, and we'll see that actually Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon is buried with him in Meron. That's in today's daf. So the last few words on 83b is Va'af Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi Yosei Mata Kihai Ma'isel Yadei. So also Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi Yosei, he also had this same problem that he was appointed by the king. We're on top of Pedal Amadal, was appointed by the king to arrest the robbers. So when this happened, Pagabe Eliyahu, Elijah the prophet, came to him and he said, how long are you going to hand over our people, the people of God, to execution? So he says, what could I do? Said Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi. What can I do? Harmana de Malku, the king's making me do this. So Eliyahu Hanavi said, Avucha arak Asya at Arokud Kaya. You can run away. Your father ran to Asya. You can run away to Ludakia. So now, since we mentioned Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi, the Gemara tells us some other information about him. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Elazar bar Shimon ba'adei adadi. When Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Elazar bar Shimon used to basically encounter each other, they were so obese that Ayol Bakara de Ture Benayu, that these oxen used to basically be able to walk through them, like a pair of oxen could walk amongst them, without even touching them. And Amru Lahu, and basically they said to them, Hahi Matronisa. So since they were so obese, there was a woman who was a princess, a non-Jewish woman, and she said to them, it's clearly the case that your children are not yours, because she was saying, how are you able to have children? You're too obese. So Amru Lahen, so they responded, they respond to her, Shalahen Gadol Mishalanu. Hers is greater than ours. So Rashi offers two explanations. Either our wife is even more obese than us, or our wife has even more of a desire than us. So the woman's response was, well, Kol Shekain. If that's the case, for sure that your children are not yours. Either she's with other men because she has such a desire, or else she's also too obese to be with you. So one version is they said to her, so that basically each man according to his strength, meaning just like we're obese, other body parts are also larger. Or alternatively, they said to her, love pushes away the flesh, means to say where there's a will, there's a way, and the love helps us conquer it. Why do they even have to respond to her nonsense? Also, don't answer a fool in his foolishness. So the reason why they respond to her is to shalom. We don't want their children to have rumors about them that they're mamzerim. That's why they responded. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ivrei de Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi, kechamas pastesha kavin. So the way generally translated is that Rabbi Yochanan is saying the aver of Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi, the male member, is like the size of 9 kabin. It can hold a jug that can hold 9 kabin of volume. And Amar Papa Ibrei Rabbi Yochanan kechamas pas chameshes kabin. And Rabbi Yochanan is 5 kabin. Amarle bas shloshes kabin. And some say 3 kabin. And Rav Papa Gufei, Rav Papa himself was ki dekuri darpan. Yeah, Rav Papa himself, his was the size of harpoonian baskets. But first of all, not everybody translates this way. Some say it just refers to a regular limb on the body. And the question really is, like, why is this relevant? So we're going to be talking about the shufra of Rabbi Yochanan, the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan. So in that context, it's relevant. But what it's really about is it's trying to show how great was their sexual desire, and they were able to overcome and channel it into Torah. So these great rabbis had a lot of testosterone. That's what it's saying. That they weren't just shrinking violets. They had a lot of testosterone, and that's the point here. Rabbi Yochanan, Ana ishtairi mishapiri Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yochanan says, I came from the best of Jerusalem. Haiman debai milchsei shufrei de Rabbi Yochanan. Somebody wants to see the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan. Nice casa de kas. Well, you should bring a silver cup. Mibei salke. You take a silver cup right after it comes out of the furnace. Unamalye partide de Romagna sumka, and fill it up with seeds of a pomegranate, a red pomegranate. And the other way, kalila devarda sumka lapume, and put around the rim of the cup petals of a red rose. Vinosve bein shimsha latule, put it between the sun and the shade. Who's a hururi, and then the sparks that come out of it, the reflections, main shufrei de Rabbi Yochanan. That's like a reflection of the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan. Gemara asked the question, is this really the case? Eini v'amar mar shufrei de Rav Kahana mean shufrei de Rabbi Avo. Shufrei de Rabbi Avo mean shufrei de Yaakov Avinu, and shufrei de Yaakov Avinu mean shufrei de Amar Rishon. It says all these people were so beautiful. The Rav Kahana was like Rabbi Avo was like Yaakov, and Yaakov Avinu was like Adam Arishon. Rabbi Yochanan, they don't have Rabbi Yochanan in this list. Where it says Shani Rabbi Yochanan, the Hadras Panam Rabbi Yochanan didn't have a beard. This other list was people who had a beard, but Rabbi Yochanan wasn't included because he didn't have a beard. Rabbi Yochanan have a Azal v'Yasef Ashari Tfilas. Rabbi Yochanan used to sit by the entrance to the mikvah, and Amar, he said, Kisakam Benos Yisrael Mitfilas Mitzvah Lifku Bi. I want the Jewish girls, when they come out of the mikvah, because they're going to be with their husbands, to first encounter me, because I wanted the image of me to be in their mind, because I wanted their children, I wanted their children to be beautiful like me, and Gemiri Oraisa Kavasi, and know the Torah like me. There's the belief that the last image you had when you were conceived, that was what was going to affect the baby. Amrle Rabbanan. So the Rabbanan said to Rav Yochanan, "Well, Mistafe Mar me'ene bisha. Are you not afraid of the wicked eye? I mean, to say the ayin hara, that if people are going to look at you, you're gonna get an ayin hara." Amar lahu, he said, "Ana mizar de Yosef kasina. I come from the seed of Joseph. To shalta ba'ene bisha, that the ayin hara doesn't affect me." By the way, he doesn't say that I'm a descendant of Joseph. He says I come from the seed of Joseph. Remember, the Gemara tells us that the seed of Joseph came out from his fingernails. So from that seed is where Rabbi Yochanan eventually came from. Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Alayayin. It says that Yosef is son of charm. He's the son above the eye. It says Rabbi Avo, Al Tikrei Ayin, don't say Al Tikrei Ayin Ela Ole Ayin. He goes above the eye. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Amar Me'achav V'yitku Arov B'Kav Aretz. Joseph's descendants will be flourishing amongst the midst of the earth. Madagim Shebiyam, just like fish in the sea. Mechasim Asam, the Ayin Ayin shall let us man. Just like fish of the sea, the Mayim is Mechasim Asam. The water covers them up, and the eye does not rule over them. Avzar Shal Yosef, so too the seeds of Joseph, Ayin Ayin shall let us man. The eye does not dominate them. Yom Echad have a kasachi Rabbi Yochanan b'Yardena. One day, Rabbi Yochanan was swimming in the Jordan River. Chazi Reish Lakish v'shavar Yardena. Reish Lakish saw him and jumped into the sea, Abasra, after him. Amarle, when Rabbi Yochanan saw this tremendous strength, he said, Chelech li'oraisa. He says, your strength, you could jump in the sea and swim so strong, your strength, we need your strength for Torah. Reish Lakish respond, Amarle shufrei chonash. He says, your beauty should be for women. Amarle, Rabbi Yochanan responded, Ihadrach bach, Yavinuach, Achosi deshapira mina. He said, if you do tshuva, then I'm going to give to you my sister, who is even better than me. So we see from here that Reish Lakish, the Velt says Reish Lakish was abandoned. We'll see from this story also. And other Gemaras refer to him as a gladiator. But it says, if you come back. So Rabbeinu Tam says that Reish Lakish mitchila yada harbe. And Reish Lakish grew up studying Torah, except that he threw it off and he became an Amma Aretz and he started going into becoming a gladiator, because it says ihadrasbach, meaning to say if you return, meaning originally he was a Torah scholar. So that's Rabbi Yochanan. Basically, Rabbi Yochanan's the Rabbeinu Tam's pshat is that Reish Lakish had a yeshiva education. He just left it and then returned. So anyway, Rabbi Yochanan said to Reish Lakish, if you come back with me, I'm going to give you my sister. So Kibo I. So he accepted this idea upon himself. Then Reish Lakish wanted to swim back, to put on his clothing. Hadar. He wasn't able to swim back to the shore. So he studied Torah. By the way, why wasn't he able to go back? Because Torah requires Rashi says because he became weak. The Torah makes you weak, but also it's because the Torah requires a singular focus, and you can't focus on anything else when you're focusing on Torah. So his strength became weak. So he studied Torah, he learned, and he became a great man. Yom Echad, one day, so one day they were having a machokas in the base medrash. Hasayef, hasakim, v'apigyon, v'aromach, so all these utensils, but they're really utensils of war, except for the last ones. But the knife, the sword, the spear, these utensils, at what point do they become capable of, basically becoming tameh? When are they finished utensils? So, and then there's the sickle. But so the answer is when they're completed, when the utensil is completed. So that's the question. When are they completed utensils? So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mishayitzar from Bekivshan. Rabbi Yochanan says from the time that you put them into the furnace and you take them out of the furnace, once you take them out of the furnace, then they're a finished utensil. Whereas Reish Lakish says, no, after you take them out of the furnace, you have to put water on them. So he says, once you pour water on them. Amar way, so Rabbi Yochanan said to Reish Lakish, Lista balistiyusa yada. He says, a thief knows his banditry, meaning to say, oh, I know why you know about weapons, because you were a robber. That's how you know it. This is a violation of onas devarim. It says in this week's parsha, you're not allowed to. You have to be sensitive to somebody, but here, and you're not allowed to remind a person who violated who was about teshuvah. You can't remind them of before they were sinning. And here we see that Rabbi Yochanan did this. So this was a violation of that. And what happened? So Reish Lakish responded in a terrible way. Honestly, he said, how does this benefit me? Hasam Rabbi Karoi. There, when I was a bandit, they called me Rabbi, and Hacha Rabbi Karoi. Here, they call me a Rabbi. So Amar, so Rabbi Yochanan said to Reish Lakish, I'll tell you how it benefits you. Because I brought you closer to the divine wings. Rabbi Yochanan was so upset that his chavrusa said, what does it benefit me? So because Rabbi Yochanan himself was hurt because he had insulted Reish Lakish, and then Reish Lakish said, what does all this benefit me? Then Reish Lakish got upset, and so because Reish Lakish got upset, therefore then Rabbi Yochanan got upset. Because Rabbi Yochanan got upset, Reish Lakish got sick. Chalash Reish Lakish. So Reish Lakish became very sick. He's about to die. So Asa Achte Kabachya, his sister, came and started crying to her brother Rabbi Yochanan. She was the wife of Reish Lakish. Amar, she said to him, save my husband for my son. Amar, he said to her, Azva Yisomech. That the pasuk says, Azva Yisomecha, that abandon your orphans. Aniach, those who abandon your orphans, I will cause them to live. So he says, God, I'll take care of them, or God will take care of them. Also, B'shvil Amanusa, she says, but I'm a widow. Amar, he says to her, Va'almanosecha alai tiftachu. Your widows can rely upon me, either me or God. So Nachnach, so he died. So Nachnach to Rish Lakish. So Rish Lakish died. Rabbi Yochanan passed right to it. Then Rabbi Yochanan missed him. He was very upset. Amar Rabbanan, Man Weizo Weizve Ladaite. So he said, who's going to go and calm him down? Meaning to say, Rish Lakish was his chavrusa, so let's send somebody. So Nezer Rabbi Lazar ben Padas. Let's send Rabbi Lazar ben Padas to Mechadin Shemaite, because Rabbi Lazar ben Padas knows how to be very sharp with his learning. Azal Yosef Kamei sat in front of him. Kol Milsadava Amar Rabbi Yochanan Amar Leitanya the Messiah. Anything Rabbi Yochanan said, Rabbi Elazar ben Badas would say, "Oh, I know a brisa that supports you." So Rabbi Yochanan looked at him and he says, "What do you think? Atka Bar Lakisha? You think you're like Rish Lakish? Bar Lakisha ki avamina milsa." When Rish Lakish would say something, having makshili esrim arba kushiyasa mefarkinale esrim arba pruka. He would give me 24 questions, and I give him 24 answers. And by the way, and there was the initial teaching that makes 49, which is the days between Pesach and Shavuos. And the teaching would become bigger. And you're just saying a brisa that supports you. You don't think I know that there's a brisa that supports me? So Rabbi Yochanan was walking around tearing his clothing, and he's crying, and he was saying, Heichat Bar Lakisha, where are you, Bar Lakish? Heichat Bar Lakisha, where are you? And he was screaming and crying until he went insane. And Bo Rabbanan Rachmei, and the rabbis prayed for mercy upon him. And Rabbi Yochanan died. Just before we turn to Amud Beis, we see from here, first of all, if somebody is out of their mind, that you can pray for them, for Hashem to be compassionate upon them and take them to the Olam HaEmes, and under those circumstances. Obviously, each case is nuanced, but the basic idea is, why does it start off by saying the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan? We see that Rabbi Yochanan was the most beautiful person in the world. And of course, it doesn't just mean his physical beauty, inside and outside. But he said one word that was not sensitive, and that caused his whole life to go into a terrible spiral, and so much so that his chavrusa died, and his whole life became empty as a result. Anyway, we go to Peidal and Amud Beis, and we're going to be spending 3 or 4 days of just the most beautiful stories. So the Gemara goes back to the beginning story of Rebbe Elazar Rabbi Shimon, who he had said had become a policeman, and he was feeling very upset about the fact that he had, even though they were bad people, that they were executed. He brought them to the court to be executed. Now, Rebbe Elazar Rabbi Shimon is the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So even though he had done a test to prove from Shemayim that his decisions were correct, so on the top of it, paid out on the base, Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon was not reliant. And he accepted upon himself afflictions. Be'orta at night, he would put 60 basically pieces of felt underneath his bed, and shitin meshichle dama, and he would also put the orta havimechle shitin namti, and on safer nagni mitute shitin meshichle dama makiba. At night he would put 60 pieces of felt, and in the morning he would take out from under his bed 60 bowls of blood from all coming out of the wounds, because he was afflicting himself. And the next day his wife would make him 60 fig dishes and he'd be healed. And his wife never let him go to the Beis Medrash, because she didn't want the rabbis to press him too much with their with the learning, because he was weak from the afflictions. But Orta Amrahu, at night he would say to his afflictions, his wife heard him saying, Achai v'rei aibo. He said about his afflictions, my friends and my brothers are coming. But Safra Amrahu, but in the morning he would say, Zilu, go. In the morning he wanted to get rid of his affliction so he could study Torah. One day his wife heard this. Amrahu, she said to him, you're bringing these afflictions upon yourself. So basically, you're the one who took away all the money of my father's home. You spent all of my dowry. You spent it on medicine. So she had enough. She picked up. She rebelled. She went back to her family home. Sliki va'aso hanach shitin sapunai. So 60 basically sailors came along. So basically 60 60 sailors came along, and Ailule shitin avde ki nikite Shitin Arnake, and they brought him 60 slaves who are holding in their hands 60 wallets with money to give him. Shitin mine laptop achohu, and they prepared for him 60 fig dishes, and he ate them. Yom Echad Amar Labarte. So one day, his separated wife said to her daughter, Zili Baki Bavuch my kavida. Go see how your father's doing. Asya, so she came to her father, Amar, he said to her, Zili Amri, go say to your mother, Shalanu Gadol Mishalhem. You know what? I'm doing better than your mother now. Because I got all this money from these sailors. Kari Anavsha, Rebbe Lezer said about himself, that the food came from distance on these ships. Achol Vashasi Ubari, so Rebbe Lezer ate and he drank and he was healthy. Nafak Obey Midrasha, he came to the base Medrash. Aisul Kaime Shisin Mini Dama. They brought before him 60 types of blood for a woman to see if it was blood that would make her tameh. Tarinu, in all these cases, he said she's tahor, she could be with her husband. The rabbis were complaining and they said, do you think there's not one amongst them that is maybe a doubt that's not tahor? Amrlo, he said to them, Im kamosihu, you kulam zecharim. He said, if they are like, if the halacha is like me, that all your offspring from these 60 unions be males. If there's even one female, it means I'm not right. Hayukulam zecharim. So all of them were born as males. Vasiki luhu Rebbe Lazar al Shmei, and they all were called Rebbe Lazar, and they were named after him. So Tanya, Amar Rebbe, Kama Piri Verivia Bitla Rasha Azumi Israel. How much Piri Verivia did this wicked one cause there to be a lack of? Meaning to say, because if he had gone to the base medrash all these years, then he would have been able to be Metaher or many other women as well. But because he didn't go, then it was lost. And who prevented him from going? This wicked one. Rashi offers two explanations. One is his wife, who kept him home, and the other is the Roman government, because they made him be a policeman, and he was feeling so upset about it. When Rebbe Lezer came this time to die, his wife said to him, Yadana b'durabanan. He said to his wife, he said to his wife, I know that the rabbis are still upset with me. Till his dying moment, he was conflicted about his actions. He said, I know the rabbis are still upset with me. Therefore, they're not going to give me a proper burial. Therefore, Ugnin bi losai v'lo minai. Take me, place me in the attic of our house, the upper floor, and don't be afraid to have me there. Amar Rishon bar Nachmani, Ishtayli ime de Rabbi Yonasan. The mother of Rabbi Yonasan told me, Ishtayli de Beso de Rabbi Lazar bar Rabbi Shimon, that the wife of Rabbi Lazar bar Rabbi Shimon told her, Lo pachos mitam ne'sari v'otfei me'esrin u'treisi shani ugnise ba'alisa. I kept him there not less than 18 years and not more than 22 years. And kiavi salikna me'nyana ma'ibamazia. And when I would go up to the attic, I would look at his hairs. And when I pulled the hair out of his head, the blood, there would be some blood, meaning to say that he remained completely fresh for these years. One day I saw a worm that came out of his ear, and I was upset. And I saw Rebbe Lazar in a dream, and Amrli said to me, Lo midehu, it's nothing. The reason why I have this one worm is because it's a punishment for one act. Because Yom Echad Shalom Beziluse the Tzurei Rabbanan Lo Mechai Kedebayli. One day I heard about the insult that happened to a Torah scholar, and I didn't raise a voice. Also Beitrei Ladina, when two people would come to a court case, when they had a court case, have a kaime Baba, they would stand at the entrance to his house. Amar Mar Milse Umar Milse. Each one would say their thing, and Nafek Kohe Me'alise, a voice would come out from the attic, and Amar, he said, Ish Boni Atachai, Ish Boni Atazaki. This guy's This one's innocent, this one's guilty. Yom echad hava kamensaya dveiso ba'adei shevavata. One day, his wife was arguing with her neighbor. Amar Allah, she said to him, Te'ei kabawa. She said, the neighbor said, you should be like your husband, Shalonitam Lakfuro, who's never buried. Amri Rabban, when the Rabbanan heard this, they said, Kuli hai vade lav orachara. Well, it's not appropriate anymore. It's time to bury him. Ikeda Amri, others say, Rabbi Shum ben Yochai, and now we start getting into the Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer, everyone goes to Meron, and we see from here that one of the sources, Rabbi Shum ben Yochai said, is Chazilu b'chalma, that Rabbi Shum ben Yochai said, came to them in a dream. And Amar, he said, pray I have one bird amongst you. You don't bring me my bird to be buried with me? Bring him to be buried with me. Bring him to Meron to be buried with me. So, also Rabbanan the Rabbanan wanted to move Rabbi Elazar and take him to bury with his father. So the people of the town of Achbari wouldn't allow it. Why? Because whenever Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon when as long as Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon was in his attic, no wild animal ever came into their city, so they weren't letting him go to be buried. Yom Echad Mala Yoma de Kippur Ave. One day was Erev Yom Kippur Ave tree day, that they were busy with Erev Yom Kippur. Shaju Rabbanan Livnei Beirei School La'arse. So the Rabbanan sent a message to the people of the town of Birei, and they quickly came and they took him up. They took up his coffin. They brought him to his father's cave in Meron. So they found a snake that was surrounding the cave. They said, snake, open your mouth. Let the son go to his father. The snake opened up. So we see from here, this is the idea that, well, the power of the grave of Rabbi Shimon Yochai and Rabbi Elazar, and also everybody who's around there, is benefiting. That's why there was no wild animals in the city, and nobody was damaging them. So everybody who's around the grave is getting the benefits of the grave. Shalch Rebbe Ladaber Beishto. So once Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon was buried, Rebbe Yehuda Anasi, he wanted to marry his wife. He wanted to marry Rabbi Elazar's widow, even though he saw that she was called maybe a Rasha. He wanted to marry her, so he sent a message. She sent back. She said, I was a vessel that was with a holy man. Think I'm going to use a regular person? Taman Amrin in Eretz Yisrael, they said, but also Demari Besa Talizaina Kulbaraya Kulase Talat. In Eretz Yisrael, they had a different version of this story. They had a parable that they said about it. And that nail where a regular Ba'asar Demari Besa Talizaina, in a place where the master of the house hangs his weapons, is going to be a regular shepherd, or will he hang his bag? Meaning to say that the shepherd can't hang it with where the master. So you're the shepherd, and my late husband was the master. Shalchai said, Rebbe sent back, Nihiti Torah, God only many. Okay, yeah, he's greater than me in Torah, but Ma'asim Tovim, God only many. But in good deeds is he greater than me. Shalchoi said to him, she said, I don't know if he's greater than you in Torah, but I know he's greater than you in deeds. Because he embraced the afflictions. I saw him embracing the afflictions. But Torah Mahi, why do we think he was greater in Torah? Because the Kiyava Yasir, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Savsele, that when Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha were sitting on the benches in the base medrash, Yasvi Kamayu, Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Ara. Then Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi were sitting on the ground. They were younger students. And Makshu Mefarku, everything they would be throwing out answers to and asking questions. Amri and the sages of the base medrash said, Mimeyan Anu Shotim, we're all drinking from their water. They Yoshim Magabe Karka, and they're sitting on the ground. Time for promotion. Abdu Safsali Askinu, they made benches for them and they put them on benches as a promotion. So Reb Shimon Gamliel said, Amrohem, Reb Shimon Gamliel, pray to Achas Yeshli Beinechem. I have one bird amongst you. You want to take this bird away from me? Achtul Rebbe. They brought Rebbe down from the bench, meaning to say, I don't want him to have an ayin hara. Amrohem Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Mishi Yeshlo Av. Yeah, I mean, say only the one who has a father, i.e., Rebbe, he's going to be safe from the Ayin Hara. Misha Engelov, but Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Chai had already died at this point. So, um, he had already died at this point. Yamas, will he die? Achtu Nami Rabbi Elazar Shimon. So they brought Rabbi Elazar Shimon down from the bench. Cholash died, but now Rabbi Elazar Shimon was upset. He said, they mean to say that Rebbe's just like me? No way. I'm much greater. Till that day, whenever Rebbe would say something, he would help him. Rabbi Shimon would help him. From that point on, whenever Rebbe said, I have something to say, he would say, Rabbi Shimon would say, he said, this is what you should ask, and this is the response. So basically it comes out from it that they surrounded us with responses like a barrel that has nothing to hold it in. Basically, you're surrounding us with nothing. So Rebbe got upset. Also, he said to his father, what should I do? So Rebbe, Shimon ben Gamliel said to his son Rebbe, Bini, my son, don't be bad. Don't be upset. Shehu Ari ben Ari, he's a lion, the son of a lion. Va'ata Ari ben Shmuel. You're a lion, the son of a fox. Meaning Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said, I'm just a fox. It's not your fault. He comes from greater person than me. He was so modest. I know Dama Rebbe. That's what Rebbe said about his father. Shlosha Anvana, Son and Hain. There are three humble people. The Elohim. These are the three humble people. Abba, my father, Bnei Beseira, and Bnei Beseira of Yonasan ben Shalom. We'll see why they're the most humble tomorrow. Obviously, this daf, each of the many stories on these dafim require incredibly deep analysis, and we're just touching the surface because these are basic stories which every year is supposed to know. Okay, I'll address any questions if anybody has.